When people are asking me what I'm doing for a living, I tell them I'm a midwife. And basically I am, because the process of creating a startup is very comparable to becoming a father. So when it all starts with the imagination of how your life is going to be when you're becoming a father, a parent, or you're creating a startup. So I remember myself thinking of becoming a parent. I lie there with my baby in the bed. You maybe know that feeling when you're lying there, you're seeing that baby here face to face with you, your noses are touching, it's snoring a little bit because it's sleeping, and you're just completely in love with that little human being. It's an awesome feeling, an awesome thought. And founders are also in love with their ideas. They're always in love with their ideas, and so the first thing they think of is always how they're going to be when they're founded their startup. If you think of the different idols in the startup economy, right, there are a lot of different founders that are almost pop stars, like Elon Musk having Tesla, SpaceX, revolutionizing complete industries, and even buying some billion companies or just by a tweet. Or Sarah Blakely that created Spanx just with $5,000 in her pocket. She started a billion-dollar company. Pop stars, real pop stars. You picture yourself as a founder that you maybe become also a little bit like them. But what nobody tells you that real life is going to be completely different. I mean, think of it when you're becoming a father. What is the usual day then? You don't get any sleep anymore. You don't have any time for yourself, for sport. You don't have any time for your spouse. You have actually no idea what's coming next. And as a founder, it's the same. You have completely no idea what's coming next. And when you're going to bed, you're thinking about your company. When you're standing up, you're thinking again about your company. So, as you can imagine, that's quite hard to create such a company. It's hard to be a founder. It's hard to be a parent. So what really is the reason why people are becoming parents or becoming founders? That was a question that was in my mind for a long time, and what I did, I just started talking to founders over the last years. I think I talked with about 100 founders asking that specific question. And their answer was really interesting to me, because what they said, why they found a company is they wanted an uncomparable adventure in their life. They wanted to work based on their values. They wanted to pursue a purpose that is important to them. So they wanted to create maybe something that is bigger than just themselves. They want to have some kind of legacy. So that was the reason why they embarked to a lifelong journey, a lifelong adventure of learning. In my industry, you find a lot of different literature about how to create a great product. Let me share one example that is, in my opinion, really groundbreaking. Maybe everyone here knows Eric Ries. He wrote a book about lean startup. But what he proposed is, instead of creating one big product in the beginning and hopefully it will be successful, he said, guys, let's start with just building what he calls an MVP, a minimal viable product. So he proposed to create the smallest product that you can think of in order to then start with that little product on the market and incrementally measure what people are doing with that product. So he's saying, go measure if somebody is using it, how they use it, how you create value with this little tiny product for your target audience and your customers. By doing so, you're going to learn a lot of things. I mean, not your ideas is really relevant. What is relevant is how you create value at your customers and your target audience. So Eric says, go and build a minimal value product and measure how they use it. And what happens then, this is really important and interesting, you start learning about how they're going to use it and how they're going to maybe wish to use it. So it gives you an idea what you're going to build next. So basically, that's a process that Eric proposed to incrementally create the perfect product. What you don't find a lot of literature on is how to become a great founder. What's even more important than having a great product is becoming a great founder, because the whole startup is dependent on you as a founder or as a founder team. So when I'm working with founders, what I tell them is always the same. I start off with saying, guys, please start, discover opportunities instead of seeing problems and challenges. I mean, it's an easy task to say, but when you start discovering opportunities, you start to saying yes to these opportunities instead of being afraid of the challenge and the problems. What happens again, and that's also really the important part, you start to learn. You start to learn all the time. So if you embrace your opportunities and default say yes to tackle these opportunities, you start to learn. And you can imagine as a founder, you have to learn a lot. You start off as this visionary person having this great idea what you want to create. After that idea, you have to create some kind of product. So you're going to be an innovation manager, maybe a product designer. After that, you need to be a fundraiser because you need the money to build the product and go to the market. Having been a fundraiser, you're going to be a product owner, then a technical lead, then a salesperson, then a growth hacker. And if you're successful, you're going to be an international scale-up manager. And those are only the first 36 months in the life of a startup founder. You can imagine the amount of skills, of knowledge you have to learn in order to be successful with your startup. So it's really hard, a hard part there as a founder to be always on the top of what you should be able to do in that very moment where you're in. What is also important for the founders, and it's also something that is often forgotten, a single founder will never be successful. You are always a team. You are always working with a lot of people supporting your same vision that you're having. And that team needs to be empowered. That team needs to be enabled too. So as a founder, and you're the spearhead of your company, building up all these skills and all this knowledge, what you need to do next is to share all your knowledge with other people. Sharing is a really important task for founders. It's gotten forgotten too many times, because if you're not sharing what you have learned, how should your team perform in the way you want it to? So you need to share all your knowledge that you have gained during this time of discovering and learning with your team and maybe even others in order to make them better. A small side effect of sharing, which is also very important for this cycle, is that you need to rethink and restructure, reframing all the knowledge that you're having. And by doing so, you identify for yourself all the gaps of things that you don't know yet, of skills that you're not able to perform yet, which leads me again back to discovering new opportunities to learn. So basically, what this allows you is to becoming a lifelong learner. As you can see, it's not necessary to start with a perfect product into your journey with your startup. It's also not needed that you be the perfect founder when you start with your startup in the beginning. Failures are part of your journey, and of course, when you go for an opportunity, just say yes to learning, you make failures, and you should embrace those failures as a part of your learning path. And by doing so, I'm really convinced that you're gonna evolve personally and maybe even becoming a great founder. So share your experience, share what you've discovered with others, share what you've learned, and maybe you're gonna even inspire another person here in the room to do the same. Thank you.